You don't belong here. This courtroom is for lawyers, not lost defendants." Laughter trickled in from the gallery. The black man didn't blink. "Custody hearings are next door," the judge added. "Unless you're just here to watch." "Someone you know go down." Snickers. A few heads turned. Someone whispered, "He probably got the wrong room." Still, the man said nothing. No confusion. No reaction. He calmly stepped forward. "I'm here on case 24CV7894. The judge squinted. "Are you even part of that case?" "Who are you, his cousin?" A few quiet chuckles. "Your Honor," the man said, voice firm but calm, "I'm representing the state." The judge blinked. "You're the what?" He pulled a small black leather card holder from his inner jacket and handed it to the court. Clerk. She opened it. Froze. "Speak up," the judge snapped. She looked at him, then back at the card. "Sir, this is Assistant District Attorney Elijah Monroe, lead prosecutor on this case." The air died. A pen rolled off someone's table. The judge's mouth opened, then shut again. "That can't be right. I wasn't informed of any." "You were," Elijah said smoothly. "This morning. 8:04 a.m., filed under official day-out transfer protocol. Your clerk signed the receipt." The court clerk nodded silently. Elijah walked forward, past the shocked attorneys, gallery, and judge. No smirk. No rush. He reached the table, opened his briefcase, and laid out the file. Motion to dismiss based on illegal search and seizure. Body cam footage, IA complaint, and time-stamped violation all submitted. He handed the papers to the bailiff, who now looked too afraid to breathe. The opposing counsel, a white man in a slick blue suit, stood halfway up. "Your Honor, I wasn't." "We weren't told. You were dealing with Mr. Kurland," Elijah said without looking up. "He was removed for incompetence. I was asked to clean it up." Silence again. The judge finally cleared his throat. "You may proceed, Mr. Monroe." "Well, I guess anyone can wear a suit these days." The opposing counsel didn't even look up as he muttered it, loud enough to be heard, quiet enough to deny. Elijah didn't respond. He was already flipping through the motion file, unfazed. The judge, still shaken, cleared his throat again. "Mr. Monroe, you may proceed with your opening statement." Elijah stood, calm, crisp. "This case, Your Honor, should have never made it past intake. The arrest was unlawful. The evidence is tainted, and the timeline fabricated." The other lawyer scoffed. "That's a bold accusation. Have you even read the witness statements?" "I wrote the rebuttals," Elijah replied, not missing a beat. "And I cross-checked them against street camera timestamps, radio dispatch logs, and GPS pings, all included in the evidence folder." Now the courtroom leaned forward. The judge blinked again. "You did all that overnight?" "No, Your Honor," Elijah said smoothly. "I did it in under 3 hours, while your clerk was still uploading the docket." The gallery murmured. The opposing attorney rolled his eyes. "Is this theatrics, or are we here to try a case?" Elijah turned to him directly for the first time. "If by theatrics you mean due diligence, then yes, let's perform." The room froze again. Even the stenographer paused her typing. "You're telling me the entire arrest file is invalid?" The judge asked, trying to recover. "I'm not telling you. The body cam is." He pulled a tablet from his case, connected it to the courtroom screen, paused it at the exact frame, time-stamped, officer hand ungloved, bag already open. Your officer opened the sealed bag before the evidence tag was applied. No gloves, no chain of custody. The judge leaned forward. "And this," Elijah said, tapping the screen, "was the only piece of evidence placing the defendant at the scene." Silence. Opposing counsel looked visibly pale now. This isn't what was submitted originally," he stammered. "No," Elijah said. because what was submitted originally was a cut version. I pulled the full internal server back up using court access credentials. He placed a printed email chain on the table. Highlighted in yellow, the officer trimmed the footage and sent it to your office. You didn't verify it. You filed it anyway. The judge looked between them. Mr. Langford, is this true? Langford stayed silent. Elijah didn't press. He simply walked back to his table, sat down, and closed his folder. Motion stands. This case is contaminated beyond repair. The judge exhaled, slow and tight. I'll review the footage during recess. Then quieter, almost to himself. Why wasn't this man leading cases sooner? Elijah didn't flinch. But a very, very small smile touched the corner of his mouth. He's not one of ours, is he? The clerk whispered it to her coworker as Elijah walked past. She didn't think he could hear. She was wrong. He didn't look back, didn't flinch, just kept walking. But someone else did hear it. The janitor sweeping near the vending machine. He gave a low chuckle, almost a growl. He ain't yours. But he's here now. That same clerk watched Elijah step into the elevator. Straight-backed, coat still buttoned, case still under his arm. By the time the doors closed, 3 more people had turned to watch. Was that the guy from Judge Hanley's courtroom? Yeah. Ada Monroe. You didn't hear? Hear what? He shut Langford down. Motioned to dismiss. Caught their office using edited body cam footage. Wait, he did that? Man, he did all of that before lunch. The story bent slightly with every retelling. Now Elijah wasn't just smart. He was dangerous. He wasn't just confident. He was quietly lethal. In the break room, the court reporter sipped lukewarm coffee and whispered, "Did you see how Judge tried to laugh it off at first? Like Elijah was lost?" Judge turned red, bro, and Monroe didn't even raise his voice once. That's what made it hit harder. Outside courtroom 3B, a junior public defender was flipping through files when Elijah walked by. She looked up. "Excuse me, Mr. Monroe." Elijah paused, turned. I just wanted to say, that was impressive what you did in there." He nodded. "Polite. Thank you. No one talks to Langford like that. And lives to file again." "I didn't talk," he replied. "I just showed the truth." Then he kept walking. By noon, his name was being said with a pause. Not loud, but carefully. The security guard at the front entrance didn't ask for ID this time. Just nodded. "Go ahead, counselor." Even the elevator held its breath. In the basement file room, the head clerk raised an eyebrow when someone said they were requesting files for Ada Monroe. "Wait, Elijah Monroe?" The clerk nodded. "Get him whatever he asks for. Fast." The spark had spread. It wasn't wildfire yet, but it had ignited. And people noticed. And whispered. And watched. And waited. In Judge Hanley's chambers, the phone rang. He picked it up. Hanley. A pause. Yes, he did. Another pause. No. I didn't see it coming either. He hung up slowly, looked out the window, and said to himself, "Who is this kid? He's making the rest of us look bad." Langford didn't bother to whisper. He said it loud enough for the entire conference. Room to hear. Another prosecutor chuckled. "He didn't just make you look bad, he erased you." Langford slammed his file shut. "He embarrassed this office in open court. And you're all clapping?" "Not clapping," someone muttered. "Just watching." That afternoon, Elijah received a file request confirmation. It was empty. 3 folders missing. He checked the system logs. They'd been signed out by Langford. When Elijah brought it up, the clerk avoided eye contact. "Oh, maybe it's just delayed." He said nothing. Just left the counter. At the copy machine, 2 interns lowered their voices as he passed. "That's him." "Ada Monroe?" "Yeah, They say he memorized the entire penal code. Or maybe he just made Langford look like a joke. They laughed nervously. Elijah didn't stop, didn't smile, didn't blink at his pace. A little slower. He'd heard every word. Later that day, he entered courtroom 2A. The bailiff didn't look up. Elijah Monroe. For the motion hearing. The bailiff waved vaguely. Defense is already inside. But when Elijah stepped in, Judge. Riker looked up sharply. Excuse me? Mr. Monroe, your presence wasn't confirmed. It was filed at 7:12 a.m., Your Honor. Docket entry 88F. Riker frowned. Well, we didn't see it. Langford was already seated at the opposite table. Smirking. Outside the courtroom, Elijah sat on the bench. Phone in hand. Silent. Still. The hallway buzzed. Did they freeze him out? Can they do that? Only if no one notices. Someone did notice. The same junior public defender from earlier. She walked by, then circled back. They shut. You out? He nodded once. They're scared of you. I'm not here to scare anyone. No, she said. But you're not here to serve them either. In the DA's office, the division lead walked past Elijah's desk, paused. You're drawing attention. I'm doing my job. You're doing it loudly. I haven't raised my voice once. Exactly. He walked off. By sunset, Elijah had refiled his motion twice, corrected internal routing errors 3 times, waited at the clerk's desk for 2 hours. He never complained. But the file under his arm was now marked Re-submitted. Ada E. Monroe. In red ink. At 6:17 p.m., as most staff packed up, he was still seated in the lobby, reviewing notes. A janitor passed by. Still here? Work left. The janitor nodded. Then said, without turning, They want you out. Elijah paused. I know. You gonna let em? He closed the folder. No. Mr. Monroe, your motion's been reviewed. Judge Riker's voice was tight, not angry, not polite, just. Control. Elijah stood slowly. Yes, Your Honor. The courtroom was half full, mostly attorneys pretending to check their phones, clerks pretending to file, but all of them listening. Langford sat across the aisle still. Your arguments, Riker continued, were extensive. Elijah nodded once. Only what the law allowed. The judge blinked. I didn't say they were wrong. He leaned forward, fingers folded under his chin. The evidence presented clearly demonstrates procedural misconduct. The court finds the arrest invalid and grants the motion to dismiss. Langford's face didn't move, but his jaw twitched. The courtroom didn't cheer, didn't gasp, but something deeper happened. People looked. They didn't look at the judge. They looked at Elijah. After the ruling, Elijah packed slowly. Langford walked past. Enjoy your little win. Elijah didn't respond. Langford leaned in. You're not special. You're just new. And the system eats new. Elijah closed the case file. I'm not here to last. I'm here to change. As he left, a court clerk from another department approached him in the hall. Hey, she said, eyes flicking around. I don't want to say anything official, but that was one of the cleanest filings I've ever processed. Elijah gave a half smile, then it did its job. She hesitated. They'll come at you harder now, I expect that. But just so you know, some of us are watching, not all of us are blind. He nodded and walked on down in the lobby. A man in a cheap suit waved him down. Hey, Ada Monroe, right? Elijah turned. I run arraignments on the weekend docket. Heard what you pulled upstairs. You ever want transcripts moved faster, let me know. I owe you a favor. Elijah thanked him. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't write it down. Just moved on. Upstairs. Langford slammed his office door. He's making a show of everything. Another attorney shook his head. No, man, that's the thing. He's not. That's what makes it worse. At 4:12 p.m., Judge Riker walked into his chambers, loosened his tie, and sat in silence. He picked up the case file again. Monroe's cover sheet was typed perfectly, references highlighted, tabs precisely placed. He flipped to the last page. Under the signature line, one note. Law is only strong when silence speaks loudest. Riker stared at it for a long time, then closed the file. That evening, Elijah exited the courthouse. The wind picked up a little. A few papers blew by nothing dramatic no spotlight. But when he passed the metal detector, the security guard nodded and said, "See you tomorrow, counselor." Not sir. Not you again. Just counselor. Close the door. The voice came from behind him. Firm, sharp, worn with authority. Elijah turned. Behind the glass-walled conference room, District Attorney Richard Tolan, gray suit, crimson tie, smile like a threat. Everyone outside slowed down. Eyes flicked toward the room. No one spoke. No one moved. Elijah stepped in. Tolan gestured to the seat. Sit. He didn't. Tolan sighed. You've made quite the mess. I followed the law. You've made enemies. That's what you've made. Elijah stayed silent. Tolan stood. Walked slowly around the table. You embarrassed Langford. You embarrassed two sitting judges. Clerks are whispering. Security guards are quoting you. He leaned close. We don't hire prosecutors to build fan clubs. We hire them to convict. Elijah's voice was low but firm. I prosecute corruption, even if it wears a badge. Tolan's smile vanished. You're new. You don't get it yet. This office is a machine, and machines hate friction. I'm not here to be smooth. You're here to win cases. I'm winning integrity. Tolan slammed a folder on the table. You're winning, Noise. And if that continues, your desk won't be here next week. Outside, heads turned toward the glass. Someone whispered, That's Monroe in there. Elijah finally sat, calm, centered. I didn't come here to be liked. Tolan stared. I came here because a man was jailed off edited footage, and no one cared until I did. Tolan leaned over the table. You think this job is about care? This job is about control, perception, power. Then you should be worried. Elijah said quietly, Because I didn't start this fight. You did. A pause. Then Tolan's voice dropped to ice. You're on probation, effective immediately. Court appearances require pre-clearance. You don't speak to press. You don't breathe unless I say so. Elijah stood. I'll sign whatever you want. Tolan blinked. What? Elijah leaned. Forward. Calm. Controlled. Terrifying. But when the next case blows up in your face, don't expect me to clean your blood from the record. He walked out. The hallway had frozen. No one looked at him, but everyone had heard him. That night, Elijah received a call. Blocked number, he answered. Silence. Then a deep voice. They've marked you. Who is this? I saw what you did. You're not the only one watching. Click. In his apartment. Elijah opened a new folder. Label. Cases dismissed, internal anomalies. 17 so far. All with unexplained irregularities. They came. For him in that room. And left with more fear than fire. You handled yourself well. The voice came just before the courtroom doors closed. Elijah turned. Judge Mariana Voss, veteran, feared, never smiles. Known for never getting involved in politics. She stood near the side wall, arms crossed. I read your filings, she continued. Twice, you're meticulous. Elijah nodded respectfully. Thank you, Your Honor. I don't offer compliments. This isn't one. It's a warning. She stepped closer. They're going to come for your reputation now. Not just your work. Elijah's jaw flexed, but his eyes didn't waver. Then they'll have to be more creative. She gave the faintest smirk. You're not like them. I'm not trying to be. Good, because we've had enough of them. And then she walked away. No more words, but the hallway never forgot that moment. That afternoon, an email hit every desk in the DA's office. Subject line, Training Opportunity, Monroe Method Filing Workshop. No one claimed authorship, but within minutes, the entire staff was buzzing. Wait, Monroe? As in Elijah Monroe? They're making us learn from him now? Langford stormed out of his office. This is a joke, right? No one answered. At 3:43 p.m., a legal blog published an article. Young prosecutor exposes evidence tampering twice in 2 weeks. No quotes, no interview. But the photo? Elijah, mid-speech, tablet in hand, courtroom watching. The post exploded. Defense attorneys reposted it. Law students debated it. A district clerk emailed it to her cousin in civil rights law with the subject, "This kid's real." That evening, Elijah got a call. Mr. Monroe? Yes. This is Judge Voss's clerk. She wanted you to know your case docket has been reassigned. You'll be presenting directly to her bench. He blinked. Is that normal? She said she doesn't trust the others anymore. Click. Later that night, Elijah stood by his window, phone buzzing beside him. Another article. Another repost. Another message. You don't know me, but thank you. We see you. Outside, city lights blinked like low stars. But inside, a fire was catching. In the DA's office. Tolan read the blog post 3 times. He scrolled to the comments. The 4th one hit hardest. If more prosecutors were like this guy, maybe the system wouldn't be so broken. He closed his laptop. And didn't say a word. The silence around Elijah was shifting. It used to mean ignore him. Now it meant watch him, learn from him, or prepare to be replaced by him. Your forms are missing timestamps. The young intern froze. Clerk Vasquez didn't usually speak, let alone correct. But I thought, if Monroe's filing structure became the new benchmark, then this won't pass. She handed it back. No signature tabs. No reference links. Redo it. The intern took the file. Stunned. Then whispered, did she just say Monroe's benchmark? 3 cubicles down, a junior prosecutor rewrote his motion in silence. He didn't understand the law like Elijah did, but he copied the formatting. Same highlights, same footer, same clip sentences, same force of restraint. In courtroom. 4C, a defense attorney leaned over to her client. You got lucky. Why? Ada Monroe took this case. He doesn't lie. That sentence shouldn't have sounded rare, but it did. By Thursday, 2 filing clerks and a judge's assistant had started using a phrase behind closed doors. Is this Monroe clean? Translation. Is it airtight? No loopholes? No shortcuts? Bulletproof? In the DA's private conference room, Langford stood by the window. He was livid. First, they ignored him. Then they hated him. Now they're copying him? Tolan didn't look up from his phone. Langford turned. Are we just letting this happen? Tolan finally answered. No. That evening, Elijah received an email. No sender listed. No subject. Just one sentence. They're watching everything now. Be sharper. The next morning, Elijah noticed 2 things. His calendar had a mysterious audit check scheduled. No context. 3 of his active case files had been quietly reassigned overnight. He called the clerk's office. We were told you're under review. By who? Pause. Click. Meanwhile, a quiet moment happened in the hallway. A janitor stood beside a vending machine. 2 public defenders nearby. She's using Monroe's objections now, one whispered. Who? Voss. Judge Voss. She used to shut those down. Yeah, until he made them land. At 4:10 p.m., Elijah sat alone in his office. No calls, no files. Just silence again, but this time different. Before, silence meant ignore him. Then it meant watch him. Now it meant he's a problem we can't control anymore. At the end of the day, a clerk who rarely spoke peeked into his door. Sir? Elijah looked up. I just wanted to say, your notes from that dismissal case? I saved a copy. Hope that's okay. He didn't respond right away, then said, use them, improve them, share them. She smiled, and for the first time left. The door opened behind her. The headline hit just after 7 a.m. Rogue prosecutor accused of targeting police with personal bias, no byline. No quotes, but it used his full name. 3 times. Elijah read it once. Didn't blink. By 8:30 a.m. It had over 4,000 shares. Local news picked it up. Talk radio debated it. One anchor called him a weaponized intern with a God complex. The DA's office didn't issue a statement, but someone removed his nameplate from his door. At 10:03 a.m. He entered the courthouse. Security didn't nod this time. They just waved him through. Without eye contact, he walked past 3 clerks. All turned quiet. One looked away. In courtroom 2D, his name wasn't listed on the updated docket screen. His case had been assigned to Langford. No explanation. Back in his office, empty. No files, no calls. Just a blank desk, like he was never there. At 11:52 a.m., he received an internal message. Pending administrative inquiry. No new assignments at this time. No sender. Just cold text. At 1:17 p.m., a reporter called. I just wanted a quote. They're saying you've got a vendetta. Elijah said nothing. The reporter waited, then sighed. Okay, I'll just print what they're already saying. Click. But the silence didn't last long. At 2:41 p.m., someone knocked on his door. It was the junior public defender, same one from weeks ago. I saw the article, she said. It's trash, he nodded. Doesn't matter. It does, because they're scared. He looked at her. You don't smear someone you've already beaten. At 3:03 p.m., Elijah received a private email from Judge Voss. They're circling. But I've pulled you back into my docket. They can't block that. Show up Monday, prepared. Later that evening, a man in plain clothes approached Elijah outside the courthouse. Former officer, retired early. No name. He leaned in. They want you gone because you filed truth. I know. They'll try to frame one mistake as your entire identity. Elijah's voice was soft. Then I won't give them one. The man handed him a folder. Start here. What is it? 17 dismissed cases. Same officers, same pattern. No oversight. Elijah took it. Didn't say a word. That night, he sat in his apartment. Lights off. Folder open. Red pen in hand. They'd taken his visibility. They poisoned the air. But they forgot one thing. He didn't need their spotlight. He only needed truth and a pen. Next on the docket case. 197812. State versus Corman. The room was full. But no one moved, because at the front table he was back. Elijah Monroe. Back in suit. Back in silence. Even the judge took a half-second too long to speak. Mr. Monroe. You're presenting today? He stood, calm. Yes, Your Honor. I wasn't informed. You were, Elijah said gently. Updated docket was filed by Judge Voss's order. A pause. Judge Riker cleared his throat. Yes, of course. Proceed. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't walk dramatically. Just open the folder. Defense motion to suppress based on chain of custody violations. Evidence submitted. He connected a tablet to the court screen, played the footage, paused at frame 44. Officer unsealing a bag without gloves. Timestamp mismatch. Frame 72. Evidence logged before it was collected. Frame 103. Radio. Call time doesn't match the arrest timeline. He didn't explain it theatrically. He just let it play. By the time he spoke again, the room was dead quiet. No further comment, Your Honor. The defense attorney looked stunned. Didn't even stand. Judge Riker sat still, hand on chin. Then slowly said, "Motion granted." One voice whispered in the back, "That's 3 cases overturned in 4 weeks." As Elijah packed up, he heard footsteps. Langford, standing off to the side, watching, fuming. He opened his mouth, but said nothing, because there was nothing left to say. On his way out, a law clerk caught him in the hallway. "I just wanted you to know. The interns now study your filings." Elijah paused. "Why?" "Because no one ever taught us we could do it like this." He nodded. Walked on. At the exit, a reporter was waiting. "Just one quote, Mr. Monroe." Elijah stopped. She raised her mic. "How do you want to be remembered in this office?" He looked directly into the camera and said, "As proof that the law doesn't need volume to be heard." That night, back in the DA's office, someone pinned a note to the bulletin board. "New standard template based on Monroe format below." It highlighted tabs, linked exhibits, and one silent signature block at the bottom. E. Monroe, Assistant District Attorney across the city. His name passed in quiet rooms. Not loud, not boastful. Just known. Respected. Feared by those who bent the rules. Trusted by those who never could. A janitor walked past courtroom 2D and said to no one in particular, "Crazy how they tried to erase him." Someone answered, "And now they file in his format."